Hi, welcome to another session of Inspirational Women. Tonight we're going to be talking with Charlotte Carter from Mad as a Box of Frogs, and we're really looking forward to seeing what she's going to tell us. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching. The series that we're putting together and that you've really kindly agreed to talk to us for is called Inspirational Women. And I know a lot of women that we've spoken to or have reached out to have had a similar kind of reaction. They sort of go, "Oh,
Yeah.
does that apply to me?" But I think so far, everyone we've spoken to has got a story to tell. And from the quick chat that we had last week, I'm absolutely certain that you do as well.
Definitely got a few stories. I don't know if I can put them on a Zoom call though. Yeah, so I started Mad as a Box of Frogs because...
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, and everyone asked me why I called it that, and there is a reason, but I never tell people the real reason. I'm not going to tell you now. So I started it because I was moving back to Portsmouth, because I moved to Bath last year and my daughter didn't really settle. It was a little bit, it didn't really work out the way planned, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I just thought, what do I really want to do? I've been in the electrical industry for a few years and it was something that I sort of fell into. And I really love the electrical industry actually. And I think that people really look after each other. And so I still want to stay within those realms, but what do I actually want to do? And one of the things that I was particularly good at was opening new accounts and winning new business using LinkedIn. So I just wondered how I could sort of incorporate that into something that I wanted to do. And I've worked really hard just to build a really good network of people that I can work with to be able to offer people like a full solution when that's what they want. But also just to give people sort of a bit of mentoring and sort of one-to-one Zoom calls is what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, adapting. On how they can use their LinkedIn and get some better results, and also just for their own confidence really, because I think a lot of people are so scared to post. I'm not saying that everyone should just be super casual, because there's some people that are, maybe there's a place for professionalism, depends what sort of industry you're in. But for me, I don't have the time to spend hours and hours making a professional video for myself and all that resource that goes into it. Yeah. Just a really simple, casual video of just an opinion or a useful tip for someone. You get such a great response. I just don't know why more people don't do it.
I guess if you're going out on your own as a one-man band or one-woman band, I'm terrible. I keep making this horrible gender faux pas in a series about inspirational women. I've got to really check myself on that. But if you're going out on your own and you haven't got any background at all about generating business and winning sales, I guess it's kind of difficult. But go even further back. I guess your first proper job was modelling. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a long time ago though. But yes, it was. Yeah. So I think that helped me actually, because a lot of people think, it's it's really easy. You just go to castings, get a job, and all you do is stand there.
Yeah.
It's actually terrifying, because you're quite literally putting yourself in front of, say, a room full of people that are, producers, casting directors, people that are just looking at you to watch your behaviour.
I saw a post of yours the other day where you're following along behind Robbie Williams in an advert, and
yeah,
I think it is interesting to a lot of people. It's got that kind of that sense of glamour associated with it, but I would guess that a lot of people have probably got misconceptions about the industry. And
my God, that was not a glamorous day. I had that dress on; it was so short. The director kept saying, "Oh, can we take it up a bit? Can we take it up a bit?" I was just like, you cannot literally take this dress up anymore because it will be a top. So that's where we're drawing the line there.
The whole thing, if I was doing like word association with the modelling industry, one of the words that would come into my mind would be exploitative, potentially. That might be just my misconceptions, my bias.
I've definitely known of situations that haven't been great for girls. And it's really difficult because there is an underlying issue, I think, So yes, certainly there are situations where people have been exploited, which is why obviously the Me Too movement came about. But I don't think it is just within the modelling industry. I think it's a wider issue. Certainly, it's a wider issue, and I think that it has been quite widely addressed within the modelling industry. There were a couple of incidences that made me feel uncomfortable, which I took control of, and certainly where I was sort of maybe felt like I was being pushed into doing something I didn't want to do, that I had to be quite strong on. And they said to me, if you don't do it, you're not going to work for us again. And I said, that's fine, I don't want to do it.
That element of coercion is where I know nothing about the industry at all, but that element of coercion is where I would have a sort of a moral objection to it, because it's only your strength of character that meant you weren't coerced into essentially getting naked in front of a bunch of people when you didn't really want to do it. And that's
absolutely.
Well, for me, it's not a grey area, but that's a very dodgy territory that a lot of women or girls might find themselves in, because you were strong enough to say, I don't think so. It didn't happen. How was that coming down to earth, like going into a normal job, working in an office? How did you find that?
So bloody difficult. So difficult. I was so depressed actually when I came back to Portsmouth, because I didn't want to come back. But I had me and Matilda's dad had split up, and I needed to get out like quite quickly. So yeah, it just absolutely crushed me. For me to come back to Portsmouth as a single mum, it nearly crushed me. I didn't really tell anyone I was back for 6 months. I didn't even really tell my friends. Single mums are bloody amazing, or single parents, because I've got friends that are guys that look after their kids on their own, and they juggle work, and it's the biggest challenge ever, like to juggle work, kids. So I think for me, it was my own expectations of myself, definitely. And I guess, yeah, there is a stigma attached.
And you've thrown off the shackles of that feeling less than because you're a single mum.
Yeah, I think it took me a long time. And I think actually it's only the last couple of years that I've really sort of got to a place where my confidence has come back to me, because if you feel I know it sounds really pathetic, but if you feeling really broken, it takes a long time to sort of repair yourself, I guess, in a way. But the good thing is, like, overcoming difficulties and dealing with difficult situations, like I'm sure your mum had to deal with, and your wives have to deal with when they're at work. You do become more clued up and see them coming and know how to behave in order to prevent that from happening again, and also to be able to maybe deal with it before it's happened, or deal with it a little bit better after it's happened the next time. So I think once you sort of build on your experiences, you sort of learn what to expect from certain people. You can sort of work out what's the best way of handling that situation. But yeah. I think, like you said, your wife's had different issues to overcome at work. It's, did she confront the issues or?
Not, I think not as head on as she would do now.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. I was chatting to somebody, another inspirational woman, a few days ago, and we were talking about this idea of why sometimes it seems that an otherwise really good and successful female boss isn't that supportive of her female staff. And we were sort of discussing why that might be, and that's actually something that my wife has found in her professional experience, is that she's had a female boss who on paper should be a really strong advocate for ambitious women, but for whatever reason it hasn't always gone that way. And we were speculating, is it because there's, if they're in that position, there's an element that they feel like they have to act like a bloke, like a super aggressive man to be taken seriously. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, ideally we want to get to a point where no one is treating anybody differently.
I mean, if someone's a bit of an arsehole, then they're a bit of an arsehole. It shouldn't matter whether they're a man or a woman, and people should be called out, because exactly. People should be able to treat other people nicely and treat them with respect. Yeah. I totally realised where you're coming from with what you said about the experience your wife's had with a female boss, because I've had a female boss before who was an absolute nightmare, and But then I've worked with other women that are absolutely amazing and totally supportive. But I do think there becomes, particularly if you're in a male-driven industry and there's only a couple of women, sort of you do feel like there's an expectation that you and that other person should be competing, particularly from outsiders sort of have that perception like who's the best woman. And I think if you sort of take that on board and you really buy into that and think, well, I'm going to be the best woman and I'm going to show you that I'm better than you, you know, that's the wrong attitude. If women all you know, support each other and work together and they build a bit of a team, then that's when the magic happens. If you look at the history of like men and how they've had groups of guys, so it's only in recent years really, I think probably the last 10 years, maybe more than that, I'm not really that clued up on the history of this, but it's more prevalent now that there's sort of business support groups for groups of women. It's always historically been for groups of men, and I think there's maybe a bit of teamwork lacking in the support between females maybe, but I personally have got some amazing friends in business that are women that are 100% supportive of me, and I can phone them up and get advice as and when I need it.
So when we had a quick chat last week, you know, obviously the whole undercurrent of these interviews is around the idea of feminism and inspirational women. And you mentioned that you've seen, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly of feminism online, and that was maybe something you thought was worth talking about.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to highlight the fact that you know, if you believe in equality, you are a feminist. You don't need to be you know, an extremist. I don't want to use too many adjectives in describing what I think most people's perception of a feminist is right now, because I don't want to offend.
Yeah.
But I think you know where I'm going. So I think there is a really vocal support. There are some really vocal supporters who are feminists that have this stereotypical image, but actually there is a middle ground, and there's an undertone of women expecting equality and also guys expecting equality these days, but people are too scared to be branded as a feminist because they feel that they might be tarred in some way with the perception that a feminist is some crazy person that walks around with a pitchfork hating on men.
Yeah, and I think you make a really interesting point there, because I saw a post, someone was debating this exact point, which they said, oh, I'm not a feminist, I'm an egalitarian. I was like, come on, just the semantics of the point are irrelevant here. If you want equality for women, you are a feminist. And you know, it doesn't need to be like this idea you said, people being branded with the term. It seems ridiculous to me that people don't want to be branded a feminist when it's clearly a good thing to be. And you know, I think feminism has got a bit of a crisis of PR at the moment, where
absolutely
right incel knobbers are kind of coming on it, and there's a bit of a backlash, and it's the wrong response. But I do think that in the high offices of feminism, wherever the hell they are, you know, there needs to be conversations. Look, how do we get people that are otherwise kind of normal, moderate, do want equality? How do we get them actually identifying as feminists? But I do think, you know, it's absolutely valid to say, if you don't strongly believe in equal opportunities for everybody, or a meritocracy where people are judged purely on their ability to do something, and then given the opportunity to learn to do it equally, then there is something wrong with your thought process. And I would stick my head above the parapet and say that people that don't believe in equal access to education, employment opportunities, whatever it might be, freedom of movement, they are wrong. I don't have it's not an opinion, it's a stone cold fact.
I'm in lockdown.
God, yeah.
You can't have freedom of movement right now. Sorry.
I'm pretty for it to end. Let's switch gears a little bit then and talk about, you know, there must have been a moment when you were working in account management and sales in the electrical trade. Is that when you thought, right, I can do something on my own that people are going to want to pay me for, and now I'm just going to go and do it? Like, talk to people, because I think a lot of people sat in an office job or wherever they might be feel like they've got a business idea in them, and only a tiny percentage of those people ever actually go and take the plunge and try it. So
Yeah.
talk everyone through that process. Having an idea, it's a good idea, and now I'm going to do it, and now I'm doing it. Like, what happened? How did that come about?
So I always, when I was younger, wanted to have my own business. I was self-employed until I had my daughter, and I had to come back and get, a typical 9 to 5 sort of line of work. I was always self-employed, and I always wanted to have my own cafe. When I was younger, I literally pictured myself in a retro cafe in like a 70s dress, serving really nice sandwiches to everyone and chatting to all my customers, loving life every day. I decided to do Mad as a Box of Frogs because I just wanted to. I didn't want to go and work for someone else again. I had a few sort of frustrations that I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go off and do my own thing. So, and I was really fortunate as well in my last job that my manager believed in me so much and was so supportive of me, and actually really kind of like a mentor. And I had massive support from the directors there as well that, believed in what I was doing, and it really sort of made me feel like I wasn't being ridiculous. I remember going to my manager and saying, oh, like, I'm upset, or this is what I want to do, what do you think? And he didn't laugh in my face, and I just thought, yes, I think I'm onto something here. And I spoke to a few different people, and I had to look at what was around, and I definitely saw a bit of a gap in the market. And I just thought, you know what? I'm never going to have everything lined up and ready to go. I just need to do it. And I thought, if I throw myself in 100%, I've got no job to go to. Then, and I've put an insane amount of pressure on myself to make it work. And actually, like the first 2 months, on the second month, I earned the same amount of money as when I was employed. I think if anyone's sat in an office and they're really miserable, don't just quit your job. Like, pick up the phone and have conversations with people. Make sure that you've got a bit of a plan in your mind and that you can make money.
Tell people that don't know what you're doing now. You give us a little bit of a snippet, but what skill set you bring in, and where did you learn it? Is it just innately you? Is it just something that you found out you're naturally good at, or is it something you've practiced it in the sales and account management jobs? What do you do?
So what I do is I do one-to-one LinkedIn training with people on Zoom at the moment. I work with a guy called Tim, who's an amazing graphic designer and illustrator. So he can put together any sort of print design or graphics for posts, banners, that type of thing. Also, I work on sort of content strategies for people. I can do a bit of work on their profile for them, and a full marketing solution as well. But it's not all me that does it. I have a couple of people that do some work for me, and so it sort of works well. So
your daughter's 8, is that right? You've got an 8-year-old daughter, Matilda, is that correct?
Yeah.
So Matilda is our second daughter's middle name, by the way. Molly Matilda, she is here.
Oh, that's so cute.
I really like that name. If you were, I don't know whether you guys do talk about it, but if you were talking about what her professional life might look like, if there was one, not golden rule, but one really key piece of advice that you'd like to give her, either based on something that didn't go well for you in your career, or something that did go well, and you think she can learn from that, what would it be? What would you say to her? Look, if you go through your career, if you go through your professional life with this in mind, it will stand you in good stead.
So just before lockdown, Matilda has wanted to be school counsel since she started school. Like, she's literally been fixated on it for years, and she started her new school, and she actually got school counsel, and she'd only been there for a few weeks, and she was voted in by her peers. Nice. She was so happy, but for the 2-week build up of the campaign, and then the waiting for the results, she was in such a foul mood and so worried. Oh my God, yeah. But while we were writing the campaign and coming up with all the ideas, she was so sort of worried, and she almost didn't want to do it because she felt like she wouldn't get it and she would lose because she hadn't been there long enough. So, you know, the same thing that I would say to everyone, just be yourself and try to be resilient. Like we all have moments where we sort of doubt ourselves, and it's okay to like say to yourself, like, I know that I feel self-conscious at this moment, or I know that I feel like I don't know my own worth, but actually that is just in my mind, you know, and just acknowledge that you can bring something to the table and just put yourself forward, because if you put yourself forward and you don't get it, it doesn't matter, there's always going to be another opportunity. But if you just sat there and you don't do it, then you know you never do anything, you sit in the same place all the time, don't you?
Still, I'm going to miss a sports person, but there's a quote, I think Michael Jordan, I can't remember, someone, which is like, you miss every shot you don't take.
That's it, yeah.
And I know I hate those cheesy one-line quotes, but that one actually makes a lot of sense, because if you're not prepared to be vulnerable sometimes, put yourself out there, you're kind of going to be stationary, aren't you? You're not going to move. You might be safe, but you're not going to move very far.
Bite off more than you can chew. I always say that. Like, you know, there's so many times in my life where I've literally nearly given myself a nervous breakdown because I've gone, I can do this, and then I'll go and do it, and I'm like, why have I done this to myself? I'm so stressed. I should have done this. I should have done that. Da, 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 da. But I always make it work. I literally always find a way, because you can't not. If you put yourself in the deep end and you know that you've got, you know, there's a substantial risk that you're taking, then you have to make it work. Yeah. Then you do make it work. So,
you know, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you'd like people to hear, that you think people would benefit from? You know, because you've been through a unique experience, going away to live in London at 17, coming back to Portsmouth, in your mind, in disgrace 5 years later. You know, that's a formative experience in anybody's books. You've been a single mum, you're now a business owner in a really, really tough time, but you're smiling, you're positive, and you're moving forward. That in itself is inspirational to me, and I'm sure it would be to a lot of people. But
to make me blush.
Sorry. Is there anything that you think, you know, that you think you like to say to people that are maybe watching, that are having a tough time for whatever reason, male or female, that you think might help them at the moment?
Yeah, if you feel like you can't do something, just do it anyway. Like, that is my honest advice. If you feel like you wake up and you feel like you can't go to work that day, or you can't do something, just go and do it anyway. Like, put a smile on, even if it's a fake one, and go and do it. Because when you get home in the evening, you'll feel 10 times better than you did when you woke up that morning.
So there, okay, that's great, thank you. And just the last thing, is there anything that, like, what are you missing now in this period of deprivation that we find ourselves in? What are you missing now more than anything else?
I don't think I can say my honest answer on camera.
Charlotte, really, really appreciate you, you agreeing to have a chat with me. I think people are going to really enjoy hearing a bit about your story and learning a bit more about you as a person. I've really enjoyed it, so thanks very much. Look forward to seeing some more great stuff from you on LinkedIn and in business in general.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, and it's been really fun, actually. I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm totally supportive of what you're doing. I think it's great. So, I like I said to you the other day, there's plenty of inspirational women that I'm sort of connected with, so I can send you over their names too.
Daniel asked me to nominate a charity, so of course I've got to nominate my niece's charity, which is Capturing Annabelle's Journey. We're currently trying to raise £100,000 for her to have a life-changing operation to improve her mobility. And if you can donate, it would be very much appreciated.